Welcome to the Wedco podcast, where wedding wisdom meets street smarts.
We're dishing out all the tips, tricks, and wedding goss to take your wedding to the next level.
Time to ditch the formalities and get this party started.
Yeah!
Welcome to the Wedco podcast. I'm Togger.
I'm Joel.
And we have Mandi from Ivy Bleu in the beautiful Braeside Estate today on the Gold Coast. Welcome, Mandi.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
No worries. We wouldn't have had anyone else on one of the first episodes, so
100%.
Very nice to have you in the studio.
Thanks, guys. Let's get into it.
Cool. Probably most people already know who you are, but do you want to give us a little, everyone around Australia, they know who you are, but just for those 18 that don't.
I highly doubt that, and I feel sorry if they do. All right. My name's Mandi, so I'm the owner of Ivy Bleu, and my business now is really sort of all-encompassing. So we're doing planning, we do styling, we do flowers. We hire and manufacture all of our own like vessels and linens and bits and pieces like that. So we wholesale to other florists and stylists. And I also have a teaching academy as well. So I feel like most days I feel like I know what I'm doing. So I'm definitely getting to the point where I love sharing what I know, and a lot of the mistakes and things that I've made over my 12 years doing this, I'm hoping to maybe like from an industry point of view, save other people from making the same thing. So I teach as well.
Perfect.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously I know a fair bit about you and what you do. I've worked with you. I mean, Shannon, my wife, used to work with you.
Yep.
Or I guess now she's coming
Still
back now.
does.
Got it back in there.
Once you come here, it's really hard to get away.
Yeah. But it's been really cool to, obviously you were well established by the time I sort of came into the industry and stuff like that. So it's been really cool to watch you from when I came into the industry and I guess where you are now. So like where do you kind of, is there any sort of like avenue? We know that you do the academy and stuff like that right now. So like what's kind of your like passion right now? Like
definitely, I think business operations. Like I love flowers, and I love, like, I started as a stylist, and then I sort of really quickly was like, flowers will make me money effectively, and also allow me to have that creative handle. But I'm not the best florist in the world. I am not the best stylist in the world. So I love like the marketing side of things. I love branding the business, teaching. I have parents that are teachers, so I think that's naturally something that is a really big part of what I know and what I love. So even we have a subscription channel. So like majority of the time, like even just sharing what I'm doing every day, like talking about, like this morning I was looking at profit and losses. So I'm sharing with my subscribers that side of things. So definitely I think my passion is planning my weddings. Like I do, generally I tap myself at 10 a year. So I can focus because I'm running all of the business side of things. And then like our teaching program and our subscription program is definitely my jam.
Okay. And so the 10 weddings, that's you personal planning or
So as a team, we do anywhere between like, maybe 100, I'd probably say we definitely have a less is more like ratio now. So we'd prefer to do bigger budget, bigger concept weddings. From a floral point of view, it's a lot easier for us to have, say, 2 or 3 weddings a week, and we're having 2 or 3 floral briefs, and they might be, like $10,000 to $20,000 to $30,000 weddings, rather than taking on 10 to 15 different weddings, but we have 10 to 15 different floral briefs, 10 to 15 different bump ins and bump outs. So we definitely run on a less is more thing now. But I would say probably like as Ivy Bleu, we have anywhere between 80 to 150, 200 weddings a year.
Okay.
And if we included sub-hire, because we sub-hire to, we have one of the largest inventories, so we sub-hire to a lot of other decorators. We probably are a part of about 300 weddings a year.
Yeah, wow.
Me personally, I cap myself at 10 planning clients. I just can't. I love the business side of things, and I can't, like I do all the rostering and the flower ordering, and I'm still doing bridal bouquets. So I now have 2 other full-time planners that also do their own weddings that I oversee and help with them.
Okay.
Shove my opinion in on.
And weddings for yourself, what would determine if you're going to take that wedding on for Ivy Bleu? What makes it a Mandi wedding?
It's definitely...
What is that fly doing? Get out of here.
It's a availability thing.
Okay.
Probably also even maybe a scope thing. So I generally tend to find that I'll get a lot of the not necessarily like the higher budget weddings, but like more detail orientated. So like we seem to be getting a lot of cultural weddings. So I'll do a lot of our Sri Lankan or our Hindu or our Lebanese or our Greek, things that are generally on a bigger scale and have more involvement. Although the girls are getting pretty good at that themselves now. And it's also an availability thing. Like I think now I have 3 weddings in the next 2 weeks and 2 of them are destination weddings.
Yeah, okay.
And that's tapping me.
Yeah,
like
sure. Yeah.
I generally try and avoid that. So I generally try to do maybe 1 or 2 a month
Yeah.
scattered.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so with the recent Hayman Island wedding, are you sourcing flowers and everything from up north for that, or how does that work?
No, so we bring everything in.
Oh,
so
wow.
destination weddings are very, very unique, particularly Hayman Island, who we have a really close relationship with. Everything has to be brought in. So
wow.
to be able to get the freshest stock, I bring our items directly into Sydney.
Yep.
And then I get them on a truck from Sydney to here. I rehydrate them when they get here.
Yep.
Minimum 6 hours, cut their stems, and then we basically take everything on the plane with us.
Yeah, wow.
So, and any dry things like furniture, lighting, styling, stuff like that, depending on the capacity, we truck that up.
Okay.
But flowers, I fly everything.
Far out.
Yes,
Oh, so I
it's
didn't even
so
think
much.
about that as far as like even hire for furniture and everything like that. I
Yeah.
didn't even think about that, getting that across like a barge or something over to Hayman as
it's
well.
like remote.
Yeah.
Like you can walk from one side of this island to the other pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So anything that we want, we bring in.
Wow.
It's great. I love it. I like a challenge, like our Viking wedding that we did. Like,
Love that.
Give me a challenge. I think I've been doing this for such a long time that I love the left of center shit. Like, give me like something that shouldn't be cool, and I'm here for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
I think
amazing.
it's probably just because you've done so many of just all of it. And so you're just like, what's different? What's unique? What's fun? It's like, it kind of gives you that little, butterflies in your
buzz.
stomach again. Yeah. That buzz. It's just like, oh yeah, this is exciting. Like this is going to be sick. Like how does it
100%.
all come together? And then at the end of it, you're just like, I made that.
Yeah.
That's
like
sick.
one of my last Indian weddings, like we were literally like, can we get an elephant? Like, can this groom legitimately come in on an elephant? And I was like, I'm so dedicated to this. And then you can't. You really can't do it. But I was like, the same, like I've got another wedding I'm planning that they're like, yeah, we want like a carnival and we want like a Ferris wheel and like a small train. And I'm like, yeah, we can do that.
Oh,
Yeah, give me that
Touring
stuff.
circus is just going to hook you up.
that's going to be the new niche.
Yeah, literally. So no, I like to do different things. Like I think, don't get me wrong, I love the classic wedding, but I've done thousands of player blanca and a slight hint of blush. So give me color, give me, things that are a little bit different, things where I can have my creativity come out. That's one of the things I think we're focusing on really heavily at Ivy Bleu this year is our clients coming to us and going, oh, this is my Pinterest board and this is what I want to do. And me and the girls, we have such a great team rather than just going, oh, okay, well, that shows a blush napkin and that shows, this set of cutlery. We're just going to replicate what we're being shown. We're now going, okay, well, this is our take on that. This is how we can make it Ivy Bleu. This is our difference.
Yeah.
And taking a little bit more of that like design and styling brief back.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. And do you find trends moving in that way? Like are brides and grooms pushing back against that at all? Or they trust your brand that they're excited about this?
Yeah, we have the best clients. Like no joke. I say this to the girls all the time. We had 2 years ago when one of our planners started, she came from somewhere else. And I was like, she was like, oh, like what kind of control do I have? And I was like, no, our clients have so much trust in us. Like we are so lucky to have built the type of clientele. Like I think social media plays a big part of what we put out, we get back.
Yes,
so
for
we
sure.
attract the kind of clients that vibe with us. So yeah, like maybe every now and then we'll get a client that's like, this is exactly what I want. But majority of the time they're like, gal, we trust you. Like this is my color brief. This is my venue. This is the overall vibe. And then we'll create a styling brief. And 99% of the time they're like, oh my God, we love it.
Love it.
Yeah.
So like how much involvement from, I guess, like what's the kind of process with booking you for something? So like obviously someone hits you up on the DMs or most of the time probably through your website. And then what does it kind of look like from there for clients wanting to look and book with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So we like everything via email purely because it's easy to track. And the fact that we do have a big team, like we all have our strengths and our like not our weaknesses because we're perfect.
Our goods.
But we all have like our roles to play in the business. So we want everything on email because we want to be able to go back and track it from the get-go to make sure that we're absolutely hitting the mark. We're very, very particular about that. So generally a client will slide into our emails. If our DMs, we send them to our emails. And we'll send them back our pricing guide because we're very, very open in the fact of we're not the dearest by far, but we're definitely also not the cheapest by far. So we don't want to waste their time and our time. We give them a really good indication of pricing. And then we want to meet with them. Our office is based in Mollendina, so we have a beautiful space where we can actually touch and play and feel with cutlery and tablecloths and things like that. It's very romantic. Otherwise, it'll be a phone consult, and we just want to get to know them because every wedding is so different. Like there's we don't copy and paste any wedding. Like even if someone's like, oh, I saw this wedding that you did at Braeside on the 5th of May. Like, I just want this. We're like, okay, cool. Well, tell us about you.
Exactly.
Let's make this your version of that.
And like, what did you like about it? Like, were there, like, because we did this and this, but you might not like that when it kind of comes down to breaking it down to the specific details and stuff.
Yeah,
so
absolutely. So we try and get them in. We'll do a consult. From there, we'll do a quote. And then, process goes from there.
I honestly don't know too much about planning. As far as is everything full planning? We're doing everything. We're organising vendors. We're organising everything, or like is there different options for planning?
We try and keep it easy. Like I do know some other planners might have like 10 different planning packages. We don't do that because I just feel like it gets muddy. So we are sort of basically we have on the day coordination, or we have full service wedding plan, and that's pretty much our two options. Because I think just generally, like if I look at myself, Em and Mia, who are my other planners, we are like balls deep in this shit. We are all in. So having like a half planning or a quarter planning package doesn't work for us because we want to know about those things. We're super invested in it. So every client's also a little bit different. Like we'll have some clients that have a really great idea and they really want to be involved in the process and they really want to have a hands on their own wedding. So we're there as like a support guide. And then we'll have other clients like Hayman Island where they're like, we loved this vibe. This is a rough budget. And then that's up to me to be like, okay, well, I know they would vibe so hard with Joel and they would love his aesthetic. And I will then go and sort of pick and choose and they just will trust that I'm recommending those people.
Yeah, perfect.
We also don't recommend we're a little bit different to what a lot of other planners do in we don't take a commission or a percentage. So there's two ways.
That's a typical thing even in Australia?
Massively. So most planners, or most of the planners that I know, they will get a kickback for recommending that venue, that vendor. And not that it's right or wrong whatsoever. The way that I do it is I don't take a kickback because A, if I'm getting any discount, I want my client to get that discount. They're already paying me for my job. But also two, I want them to feel like I'm recommending that person because that's my best recommendation.
Exactly.
Not because I'm getting financially something back from it. So we're very unique in that.
And it still feels pretty shady, like especially if the client doesn't know and you're like, we got photographer ABC and I'm making some money. It doesn't feel right,
sit
like
right
at all.
with me. And I would like to think I'm a relatively genuine person too, that if I'm like, I just don't want there to be any financial ties.
For sure.
So we're a bit different like that.
That's fair. And like you've got a pretty solid crew now. Obviously, like I think how many staff do you have? I feel like I lose count all the time.
13.
Yeah.
13.
Cool.
There's 13 of us and working like pretty full time. Like we have a split of like casual, part-time, full-time. But majority, like all of us are working full-time. Like our team is so invested. It is literally like a little family. They're also wondering why they're not here today. No.
We'll have 11 more microphones next time.
Literally, I don't think you can fit us all in.
Shannon's already questioned me like, why am I not on my
Literally, that would have been so fun. No, we're very, very lucky. Like our team I am obsessed. Like I have been doing this for 12 years and every single time I'm sitting there at a ceremony, I'm like messaging my husband going, oh my God, I love you so much and I love you more today than I did 23 years ago. And I'm so lucky to be here to witness this stuff happening every day. And all of my girls are the same, like our wedding that we had on Saturday. Like I'm sitting there like hugging Imogen because Em's sitting there like, oh my God. So we're a pretty passionate team about what we do.
So how did it kind of grow? Like how did it grow from like being essentially probably just yourself hustling, maybe with some family and stuff like that, and then how did it grow to what it is today, being, you know, one of
all of my family.
not some of, all of.
All of them. Tayak, my sister-in-law, actually said to me yesterday, she's like, this is like, we were talking about chair covers and sashes, and she's like, you wonder why Sarah and I don't want like a big wedding, because I'm burnt on this shit. Like I've had to do like thousands of chair covers and sashes. It's like, firstly, we don't do that shit anymore.
It's 2003.
Yeah, literally. Let's take it back to 1999. No, I think it was, so I...
Was it always the goal? Was it always the goal to be like the big dog, 20 staff, all that, or was it?
I am definitely a little bit obsessive, would probably be the kind word to say. And if I'm doing something, like I want to be the best at doing it. Like I'm super competitive. And I'm very much like, I've always believed in dressing for the position that you want to be in. Like even in my previous jobs and stuff like that, I was a flight attendant when I was 18, 19. And I was like, cool, if I'm going to be a flight attendant, I'm business and first class. Like that's,
for sure.
I've always been like that. Literally. I'm a pretend I'm sitting up here. So I definitely don't think that I started with that in mind. I worked full time. Like I was a brand manager for like a hair care company, and I literally, this was my side hustle, and I literally just used to do it because I was obsessed in it. Like my sister worked in a business doing weddings, and I would go to spend time with her when I was home from flying way back when. I would go and spend time with her, and I'd be like at a wedding putting on a chair cover and a sash, and I'd be like, oh my God, the bride is going to sit on the chair cover that I just put on you. Like I'm really sad.
How beautiful are these indigo sashes?
Like, oh my God, it's satin. So I used to do that just for fun. And then, when I started this, it was literally just my side hustle. I would drag my family up to O'Reilly's. My husband would be like working full time, and I'd drag him up there to go bump out and bump in. And then it just, I think, one of the things that and I've spoken about this a little bit in the past, but I wanted to have longevity in this business. And I feel like when you're a solo operator, particularly as a florist, it is very, very easy to burn out. It is very mentally tasking. Like you're out in the sun and you're out in the wind, and you're dealing with, this isn't available this week. Like it's being a florist is hard. And the same, even just like, I wanted a family. So I think for me to realize that I don't want to just be in this industry for 4 or 5 years and then burn out, as we all see a lot. I sort of knew that I needed a team to be able to give me longevity. So I just started working away. I didn't take any profit out of this business, no joke, for like 10 years.
Wow.
Like my husband was...
What are you doing? He's just bumping in, bumping out. That's why now he's like, I don't care how desperate you are, don't ask me. But no, I didn't take any money. I literally invested every single cent that I made. Like I only really started paying myself like an actual proper director's wage, like when I came out of COVID. The same even through COVID. Like I had 2 really amazing staff that I wanted to prioritize. So I survived on my husband's wage for a really long time. To be able to invest in staff was mainly the thing. Staff and stock. Coming back to flowers might be a bit random topic, but like chemicals and everything involved in that. Like I hear about like working within flowers. Can you speak on that a little bit? Yeah,
absolutely. So there's a massive thing in Australia about flower chemicals and preservation and foam and stuff like that. And it's definitely a genuine concern. Obviously, we want to have a look for our environment, and we want to look after ourselves and our environment. A lot of the flowers that we use in Australia are imported from Ecuador, Colombia, Kenya, like a lot of these sort of areas. And to be able to, so say for example, the flowers that I say got in this morning, they were probably cut 2-3 weeks ago.
Okay.
So and you think it's a flower. Like if you leave that out of water, it's dead by tomorrow. So to be able to import these flowers and have them travel for such a long period of time from farms in Ecuador through like coups and shit to a plane to get to Australia to be processed, they're sprayed in chemicals. I'm trying to figure out how to say this without being shot. It means also that they last longer. So they last longer than, say, using a lot of the local things that are just grown. How we can, when you're a business like us who are not mass producing, but like the turnover of what we're doing is a lot different. We need to have stability in our flowers.
Yeah.
I would love to be able to romanticize it. Like if I was doing one wedding a week or one wedding a month, like, yeah, cool. I'll go and hand pick my shit from grandma's garden. Like amazing. It's pesticide and it's spray free.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's not realistic.
Yeah.
Particularly when you're like doing as much as we are. I'm trying to say this shit without being shot.
No, I've just heard a lot about like people saying it is so seasonal, and they'll like almost like promise these certain flowers, but then there's a drought, and it's like,
100%.
Now all your flowers are gone.
It's a product of Mother Nature. Import flowers, we have a lot more stability. Like we have a lot more reliability in the terms of, you know, like January when all of the flower markets and the flower growers shut down for 2-3 weeks. I know that I can still do flowers because I can still import them in.
Yeah.
So we get a lot more reliability, a lot more stability from using import flowers. But luckily we're starting to see a big trend in this whole garden vibe thing coming back, which is really, really great. So we can use more local blooms.
Yeah. Okay.
And then going into like the foam-free chemical side of things, again, like if you're doing one wedding a week or one wedding a month, like that's so romantic to be able to spend the time because foam is very, very harsh to the environment. It's not biodegradable. It's even dangerous. It's kind of like a triangular particle. So even breathing it in can be quite damaging to like your system.
Yeah, okay.
So from a chemical point of view, we also are very aware of that. So yeah, in an ideal world, like we do try and do a lot of our things, like a lot of our vessels and stuff like that are foam free. But then in terms of doing things like installs, we are in Queensland.
Yeah.
It is hot as shit.
Yeah, we're all melting.
We're all melting. Being able to do like things entirely chemical or foam free is just sometimes not really realistic. So we try and do our bit as much as we can in terms of like asking for things not to be wrapped in plastic. And we follow a lot of occupational health and safety in terms of like, you know, not breathing in foam and so you don't cut dry foam ever. Making sure that it's always soaked. So it's sort of a balance.
Yeah.
But floristry is like, it's a product of Mother Nature. You can never guarantee anything.
Yeah.
It's just being like ignorant about it. Like the big, you know, a Grand Prix installation, it's all essentially going to be sourced the same way. Like if it's a big scope project, it's going to be pretty much the same.
Yeah, absolutely. Like a lot of the big scale pieces are going to be import flowers. They're going to be using foam. Like they're going to be really sourced in the same manner and used in the same manner.
Yeah, cool. Awesome. Sorry, it's just good for me to get an understanding of that.
Absolutely. And it's actually a good thing to talk about too, because I think within the floral community, it's kind of like a little bit of a beehive where like if you're not advertising like, oh, I'm a foam, I shouldn't do it like that.
No,
if you're not advertising that you're a foam-free florist, like we get DMs all the time like, oh, that's such a beautiful arrangement. Shame it's not foam-free. And it's like, great. That's great, love. But I've had 7 weddings this weekend and I don't know where you are in the middle of Melbourne where it's -2 degrees, but I'm in Queensland where it's fucking 45.
Yeah.
And this is our 7th wedding this week. So it is actually like something that is good to talk about because you try and do your best where you can, but it's also about trying to still run a business and be profitable and, you know, from a time management point of view, like there's so much else that's involved in it.
Yeah. And in the end, like how many clients you get to make super happy with what you're doing, that only comes by the way you can set up all these processes.
Yeah. And to be foam free too, just takes a little, like some things are great, like doing foam free vessels and stuff I love, and the girls and I get so much more like doing a foam free arrangement, there's so much more movement and fluidity in it. And then it lasts for longer in the fridge because it's water, it's not having to drink up foam. So there's absolutely pros of it, and we do try and do it where we can, but just doing it across the board isn't necessarily achievable when you're trying to also run a business that's making a profit. And
for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Cool.
One of the things I wanted to touch on was how does a coordinator or even a wedding planner, but mostly coordinator like yourself or some of your team, how does that differ from someone hired that is brought in as opposed to a venue coordinator? Yeah,
I love this question. This is my favorite and one that's been floating around a little bit at the moment too. And I think that there's so much education that could be given on this because so often we'll meet with the client and they absolutely love us, and then they'll come back and say, actually, my venue's just told me that I don't need a coordinator because I have one already.
I've got one. Yeah.
Correct. So such a valid question. Entirely different. A venue coordinator is a venue coordinator. They are there for the venue. They're there to make sure that, everything's running on time, the food comes out of the kitchen, the bar tab is, working correctly. And there are some venues that have coordinators that are amazing and go out of their way and they're really, really hands-on.
Yeah.
Most venues as well, you're getting ready off-site. So if you're, yes, there are some venues where you'll be there from the morning and the venue coordinator might be around from the morning. Majority of the time, they're not really managing that.
Yeah.
But they will also give you like their standard run sheet, their standard suppliers. They're not going through and being like, this person is the best person that suits your time of year, the lighting that you're going to have on the day, the mood and aesthetic of the photos that you're looking for, and who are you going to actually vibe personally?
Yeah.
Because this person's literally like, for a photographer, a videographer, or an actual planner, we're going to be around you all day.
Yeah.
It's like picking a pair of shoes. I always say that to my client. So sad, but
I wouldn't know.
it's literally like, everyone has just different personalities. So you want to have someone that you're really going to vibe with for the entire day because it's such an important part. So a venue coordinator is just going to give you like a stock standard list of these are the people that we work with that are great. It's not personalizing it to you.
Yeah.
And then they're not going to be there to like individualize it for you. So for example, even if we're not doing planning, we're just doing on the day coordination.
Yep.
Which our beautiful Mia does, she's going to be going, okay, what's important on your day? How can we personalize this timing? How can we change it due to sunset? Sunset's so important.
For sure.
A lot of venue timelines, they're literally so stock standard, they don't change from summer to winter.
Yeah.
So
daylight savings, not daylight savings. Same time.
Exactly. So we're going through like tweaking things to actually individualize it to our client. And then we're managing that whole entire day. So from, first thing in the morning, we're messaging the hair and makeup artist, not being like, oh, where are you? Some people we need to be oh, where are you? But
if you haven't organised them, if you've organised them, you're good.
If they're our people,
exactly.
we know that they're
good.
But if there's someone that like, say, if you don't have a planner, you've organised this stuff yourself, there are really shit people in this industry.
Yeah, 100%.
I have physically had to do someone's hair and makeup before.
Wow.
I have seriously, like there is some really crappy people. So if you have picked these people because Grandma Joe Blow said that Aunt Fanny used this person like 20 years ago or whatever, like, and you don't know.
What was her name one more time?
Joe Blow, Aunt Fanny. That's our second reel. There we go.
So like we're the person that's like messaging Joe Blow, Aunt Fanny in the morning being like, hey, we've seen that you're starting in 20 minutes, like just checking if we're not like, where are you? But, I'll be there at 10 o'clock to deliver flowers. Do you need anything?
Yeah.
Really, are you there?
Yeah, for sure. Yep.
They're not asleep in bed. So your venue coordinator, doesn't matter how involved that, they're not doing that.
Yeah.
When the buses are meant to be picking the guests up at 2:30 and they've been told an entirely different location, or the bus is broken down, or you've forgotten to give the bus company like a contact number, that's the venue's not doing anything with that. That's us ringing, being like, okay, all of the pieces of the puzzle are in place. And also too, like not even that, your wedding day should be, apart from having children, the best day of your life. Like you should be treated like a goddamn king, queen, princess, whatever you identify as. So we're there, like there's no lengths to what these, like the girls and I, where they're like brushing the sand off your feet when you come off beach photos. I'm there like putting your shoes back on. Like literally for my brides, I will strip you off and take you to the toilet. Like I've had brides like
and that's even if you don't even need to go.
No, I don't need to go. I don't need to. No.
You're coming with me. Strip off, take off your clothes. I'm like helping do dress changes. Like I had a beautiful wedding recently and my bride was a dancer and she like changed into this spectacular outfit and I'm like in the disabled toilet with like one of my linen tablecloths on the ground, stripping her butt naked, putting her back in like her dress to be able to like running in and around and storing things. Like your venue coordinator's not doing that stuff.
For sure.
I'm like, darling, do you want an espresso martini? Like, what do you need? I am here to make you feel for this day like a boss. Like it's entirely different.
And I think both are like somewhat reasonably valuable because
both are great.
Because like the venue coordinator is making sure that dinner's coming out on time.
Right.
Like, those types of things, making sure that they're Yeah, so I think it's important that, like, I've seen at wedding venues before where I've had a coordinator and a venue coordinator, and I've worked in two separate times where it's worked really well, and they've collaborated, and they're like, you're doing your thing, and then I've also seen it where it just doesn't happen, and they almost feel like they're trying to take each other's job, and you're just like,
that would be a Shan. That actually, Shan had a really crazy story. Many years ago, but definitely, like, I feel like some venue coordinators, when they're having an actual coordinator come in, are really put offside by it.
Almost like threatened by it.
Yeah, threatened by it. Like, we're coming in to like tell you what to do. I am not. I am gal. I am coming in to make your day so goddamn easy. I have some venues that literally have great venue coordinators, but I'm so comfortable working in their spaces that they'll be like, the gals are having a day off because I know the kitchen staff. I know like I can do all of the jobs that, you know, it really is something that should work so cohesively. And even from a vendor point of view too, like, you know, venues, how many times have we not got a vendor meal, right? How many times have we done?
This is a frequent conversation on this podcast.
Literally. But I'm there also for my vendors too. Like I'm there to make sure that in the run sheet that we have vendor meals and we have dietaries and that it actually physically happens, and that, you know, like, I don't think sometimes people take into consideration things like, you know, speeches and stuff like that. I'm the person that's there overseeing to make sure that when we're eating, doesn't, like, the first dance isn't happening or something like that. That's my job.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I was going to say, so with the on-day coordination, as far as like timings and everything like that, are you essentially, you're getting hired early enough that you're telling the venue, no, we're going to push dinner back till 6 or 7 or something like that, and organising that whole run sheet, and then they're working around you after the fact? So
a lot of the time for us with on-the-day coordination, they might hire us for, say, styling and florals like a year before or something like that. And a lot of the time they'll put us on as an on-the-day coordinator then. Or some of the time it might be last minute, like particularly when we Insta story, I suppose, how involved we are. We get a lot of brides that see that and be like, oh my God, my wedding is in 4 or 5 weeks. Yes, absolutely. Please, would you guys be available? So generally at about 6 weeks prior, no matter where we are brought in, we will reach out to the client and we'll be like, great, send us your vendor lists. And then we'll reach out to all of our vendors and be like, because it's quite overwhelming. Like, if you're a bride, you're 6 weeks out from your wedding, you've got your venue sending you a timeline, you've got your photographer sending you a timeline, you've got videographer sending you a timeline, hair and makeup, like all of these people are like, give us this information. Our job is to reach out to all those people, correlate all that information and make sure, like, a lot of the time too, like, photographers, they're just so...
Drama queens.
No, I get it. We're working around light, right? Like we absolutely have to prioritize that. So, you know, we see a lot of like the venue doesn't agree with what the photographer wants. So we're the ones that are like, okay, this is our experience. This is what we think is the workable timeline. We'll go between everyone to make sure that what the client wants, which is the priority,
for sure,
matches what everything else is. And then we're the ones there on the day to execute it.
Okay. I think it's huge, like managing client expectation, and even just like from anyone's point of view, whether you're a florist, whether you're a venue coordinator, whether you're a photographer or videographer, like managing the client's expectations and like and like getting them on board with like why they should listen to you from kind of the get-go. And I guess it kind of comes back to having that brand, having that awareness and having that trust in you guys to be able to, you know, bring their day to life.
And it's experience too. Like, you know, that comes down to the cost that you charge, everything like that, and the trust that your client puts in. Like, I cannot confidently say many things about myself or my life, but I can confidently say I am the boss planner. Like, I am I go out on site and I go with, you know, like venues and other people that recommend us. And like, I feel like that's actually what speaks for ourselves with Ivy Bleu, is that we work with the best people and we've become friends with the best people. And that's nothing other than purely if we do a really good job consistently.
Definitely.
So I think like the history and like particularly with wedding planning, like knowing what to do when shit goes wrong is so important. Like the difference between having, say, an experienced planner to someone that's quite new. Like, I couldn't even tell, like, I've literally been like a bride walking down the aisle and her strap on her dress is broken and I'm pulling like a sewing kit out of my butt and like re-sewing her dress as she's walking down the aisle. Like, just experience and weather and things like that is really indicative of where that comes into play.
And like just preparation for the worst, not even the worst, but just like understanding that things happen and being ready for that. And that only comes with time and experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, that's really cool. One of the things that I was like really curious about was like how do you manage brides and grooms' expectations for their wedding? Like, you know, we all see the stuff on Pinterest and Instagram and all that, and we're like, oh, I want this big elaborate wedding.
I want this Tuscany wedding.
Yeah, or they send you this epic
this
like
marquee.
And my
floral-
budget is $39.
yeah, they're sending you like this epic floral thing. Like I know that from Shannon, and you get this floral inspo, and you're like, and your budget's how much? Sorry, like,
because it's like if you're like the couple, right? Majority of the time, you've not planned a wedding before.
Yeah.
So how long is a piece of string? Like you see and we are in this day and age of social media where everyone's trying to beat the Joneses.
Totally.
Sure.
So I don't even think that's the saying. Keeping up with the Joneses. That one. So it's really hard to know what does that cost. And flowers are a luxury item. They're spency. Like honestly, that's probably the biggest thing is we see all of these beautiful like keeping up the Kardashian weddings that are probably millions and millions of dollars
for free.
for free.
Yeah, exactly.
That I think it's really, really hard for clients to understand. Like we get a lot of clients that'll come in and will be like, oh, you know, like not to put you off with this is one of the first questions that we ask, but what's your budget? Like we want to make sure from the get-go that we're setting a really realistic expectation for what we can provide, particularly from a planning side of things. And so often, and it's not like there's nothing wrong with it, but so often clients will be like, oh, between $20,000 to $35,000. Dull. I'm like 8 of that. You know, we can't, particularly when you're showing me Kim Kardashian's 24th wedding, like we just can't make magic happen in terms of that. So we definitely have really realistic expectations for planning clients very, very early in the piece. Like before, like during my initial meeting, like you haven't even paid me $1. I'm sitting there and I'm giving you rough estimates. This is the average cost for a photographer. This is the average cost for a videographer. You know, based on the inspiration that you've shown me, like I would estimate we need to allocate about $10,000 to flowers and styling. And then everything, it's about communication. From a flowers and styling point of view for our non-planning clients, Mia and Em, who do all of our like consults and quoting and stuff like that, are really great at giving realistic expectations. And when we send a quote out, we send a full mood board, which is indicative of color palette. It's indicative of size. We send them a table layout that says like, okay, in your quote, you have 12 small centerpieces. This is where on your tables, based on your guest numbers, this is where your centerpieces are going to be going. So we are very, very clear in terms of like meeting expectations. And yeah, we don't seem to have so much of an issue with it. We have really satisfied clients. Like we send everybody an email after every single wedding to be like, how did we perform? What did you love? What did you hate? And our like, I share it a lot, but I don't think anyone ever actually realizes our like customer aftercare like is insane. We are so proud of what we do. And that's about because we've set the expectation really well of what they're going to get in the first place. And sometimes we throw in cheeky little extras at the end. We'll be like, we get so, particularly when we get creative, like a fun color palette or something like that, we're so invested. We'll literally be going, we were doing it the other day. We were going through the warehouse being like, oh, this is so cool. Let's give them this and let's do this charger plate and let's get a content photographer to come and get photos. Like we get so obsessed in this that we go above and beyond everywhere we can.
And that resonate with all your clients as well. Like they would pick up on that. And then like moving on to obviously you're kind of the head of the field within planning and everything in this area at the moment. And so
that was written down. He didn't think that.
I actually wrote that down myself.
Yeah, gave me that script beforehand. So obviously I find we were talking to someone earlier as well about getting help from other people within the industry. And I find weddings are really, really good like that. I don't feel like there's any other industries where, hey, you're another photographer. I'm going to tell you everything I know and I want you to succeed. I feel like the wedding industry is really good like that. And so obviously you're giving all this like with your academies and everything. And I've shot a wedding for Joel a while back and she was actually a client.
Which what?
No, she studied under Mandi. She did a workshop with Mandi.
Oh, I love this. Joel's
I'll
like,
remember
I have
it. It'll
no
come back
idea.
to me. It'll come back to me. But she had actually, I think, done a workshop with you or something before, and it was a
cool.
beautiful wedding and everything. And she kind of learned from you. Where does that come into play? Like moving into the academy and everything.
Yeah, I think when I first started in this industry 12 years ago, it wasn't. So I didn't find then that it was like that. Okay. I found back then, like I literally actually had 2 old decorators scream at me in a venue to get the F out, and I was on their turf. Wow. And like, I was quite young back then doing it as well. So I definitely found now it's like such a community, particularly I think here on the Gold Tweed Coast is very, very unique.
Yep.
I do find sometimes in the cities and in Brisbane and stuff like that, it's not as close sometimes. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's just for me because obviously I'm coming from the coast, but that's actually the reason why I started the academy was because I wanted to create more of a community, and I found it really hard when I first started out, like I found it really hard to, you know, when you're having a bad day, like I go home to my husband and I'm like, oh my God, I had the worst day today. Like the shade of pink of my flowers was wrong. My sister's a police officer. She's picking dead bodies off the street.
Okay.
But like I'd go home to my husband and he'd be like, yeah, great, whatever. But I go to like my my florist friend, like I'm really good friends with Sarah from Florals & Co. and her, and I'll be messaging and I'll be like, oh my God. And she gets it.
She understands.
Right?
For sure. Yeah.
So I think it's so great the community we have. So I think that was originally the idea behind the academy program, was to foster these relationships and to share what I know and to share my passion and just to meet like-minded people.
Yeah.
And if we get to get shit-faced and like swim in pools and create really pretty things at the same time, and it's a tax write-off.
Yeah. Got topless waiters. You got
Yeah, that's Joel.
Oh, yeah, Joel. That was him, wasn't it?
You got ripped off if you want me as a topless waiter.
If we get to do that at the same time, like it's just the relationships. And I can actually really safely say that the relationships that we have built through this academy program, like Joel's done a couple with me as well, they have lasted. Like the first one, I started this in 2018. So I've done a few now. Like I've done them in Bali, and I've done, we've got the online academy, and the relationships that we've created that I still see on a weekly basis of people helping each other out, sharing their knowledge, still chatting. We have an academy community Facebook page, still like asking each other questions and stuff like that. Blows my mind. Like it's probably the thing other than my children that I'm proudest of in my life is creating that community for people. So
were you talking about that massive one out in Armadale?
Oh, M.
Yeah, M from High Hilda.
Yes.
Sorry, I thought you were talking about a bride. And I was like, I don't know.
No, M's actually M and Emily, another one. They're just 2 perfect examples. And like some of these people come back like every year. Like Emily Butel Weddings, she's come to like 3 or 4 of them now. Like we literally, because I'm always growing too. Like I definitely do not aim. I know a lot. No, I definitely don't aim to know everything. So I'm still growing, particularly on my journey as like a boss and like work-life balance and everything like that. As my business has grown, I consistently have things to share. So I try to make sure that, you know, if you are someone that's coming back all the time, you're learning and you're taking something out of it consistently.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Yeah. Does it move into like, do you do mentoring type of sessions with like a certain planner or anything like that? Or is it just at the academy at the moment is where you're aiming to build?
It's probably been my most requested question for a long time now. Okay. And it's purely definitely I really, really want to do it because I just feel like particularly what I was about to say was going to sound so wrong. Oh, I'm going to say it anyway. I see some businesses and I was like, oh, I wish that I could help you with this. Or if you did this a little bit differently, like maybe the effect would be different. So I would love to be able to do that, but I'm tapped at the moment. I keep every year I'm like, I'm launching it this year. And then I'm so petrified of spreading myself too thin and then not being there for like my girls and my team or my planning clients or my family or whatever that it might be. That it's definitely my future plan.
Yeah.
Just not right now.
Yeah.
And obviously like you wear a bunch of hats. Like you got Ivy Bleu, you got the Blue Blooms, you've got the academy, you've now got the subscriptions page on your Instagram and stuff. So like obviously you've got a lot going on. Like how the heck do you manage that work-life balance?
What's 24 times 7? There's that many hours. I think I did 100 hours 2-3 weeks ago. Listen, ask my husband that at this current point in time because he literally
he's like,
said,
what work-life balance?
Badly.
He's like, she does not have any. I'm a workaholic. He it's like a running joke to him. Like he literally, my kids said to me yesterday, I was laying in bed giving them a cuddle, and my daughter was like, "Dad's just like a single parent at the moment."
Yeah.
And after I backhanded her,
We'll cut that out. Never.
he is like, I'm very, very lucky to have a great support system. I have a very, very close family, obsessively, unnaturally, disgustingly close family. And my husband is very, very, very supportive. So like at the moment, he pretty much does every school drop off, every school pick up. Like he's running around on the weekend with the kids with parties and my 14-year-old that thinks she's 29. And like he is definitely taking a lot of the brunt. But I am every year, and that's my journey, is trying to focus on my work-life balance a lot more. Yeah. So even things for myself, like I am such a workaholic. I'm trying to do Pilates. I'm like twice a week. I'm just for my own mental health, for my body, for my figure, whatever. I'm going to do Pilates twice a week. I sit there for 2 1-hour sessions, and I don't even make it half the time because shit comes up at the office and I can't leave. But I sit there guilting myself for the whole time that I should be doing something else. Like I should be at the office, or the girls are at the flower studio. I have a thing like if any of my team is working, I should be working as well. And considering this business runs like 20 hours a day, 7 days a week, that's not achievable. So yeah, I'm trying.
Yeah.
I'm not great. I do definitely prioritize my kids. I don't mess with anything to do with my kids.
Yeah.
And I try to counterbalance. And it's also short periods too. Like this is what I say to my husband. Shut up. It's like
it's a wedding season.
It's wedding season. Like you'll have so much of me in December, January. I'm taking the month of January off. I quit.
Yeah.
You will be so annoyed by me. You will be sending me back.
Go back to work.
Yeah.
Actually.
Sending the kids back, sending you back.
He's like, I'm going to play golf.
He went out on the boat on Saturday at like 3:30 in the morning, and I was like, see, you mustn't miss me that much, because or Sunday. I was like, I'm home. I'm in bed asleep, and you're going out. So stop bitching at me.
Oh, that's too good.
Yeah. And I feel like that is a bit of just life and life cycles as well, with the kids growing up. I find with my wife, like when, you have young kids home with the kids, and I was kind of like really building my business, and now it kind of ebbs and flows where she's moving more into the business side of things and growing that as well. So it is definitely just teamwork and
absolutely.
and working that out.
Yeah, it's about balance. I actually said to my husband the other day, I was like, I work more than any other woman and you should be so proud of me. And like, I've worked this amount of hours, and I was like trying to get like credit from him. And he's like, darling, you're nearly 40. He's like, I'm aiming to work as least as possible. You're dumb. Like, you're wanting credit because you're like doing all of these hours. He's like, I'm over here trying to be home by midday.
I'm fishing at 3.
Literally. So but like, again, like, the business is starting to do well. I've started making a little bit of money, and he sees that. And I think that's like, men and women obviously work different, because he's like, as long as I'm earning like good money and I'm contributing, and I would like to say I'm pretty sure I earn more than him, although it is a fight in our family quite consistently. He doesn't mind. He's happy to step up and do that other stuff. So.
Okay.
That's great.
Like business-wise, just for weddings, trying to take on more weddings, bigger weddings? Like, is there a focus in that area at the moment?
I think like not necessarily high budget, but high quality weddings is probably a big thing. Like, again, like less is more in terms of, we want to do less weddings, but we want to do bigger concept weddings. And that's purely nothing to do necessarily with the financial side of things. Although like from a business point of view, absolutely, this is a business. And that's actually probably another thing my husband has tried to drill into me for a long time, is this is a business. This is how I pay my kids' school fees. I am a very generous person. Like I will give you the shirt off my back if I think I'm a people pleaser, if I think it'll make you happier. But learning to treat this like more like a business. But it more gives us more ability to be creative if we have one or two things on. So yeah, we're going through and like readjusting our pricing. Also too, we're like all my venues, all my vendors, everyone's like, we are really cheap for what we provide, because we do just go so far above and beyond. So just reevaluating our pricing and making sure that that's on par to still be a profitable business, and being able to just put out more banger weddings.
Yeah, for sure.
Like we'll still always do our bread and butter, like particularly through times of the year, like, you know, winter and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'd like to start doing more impact weddings. Sydney and Melbourne get so many amazing ones.
Yeah.
Up here, we don't get as many.
Yeah.
So trying to start encouraging that a little bit more.
Yeah, I work in the Yarra Valley a lot, and like same thing, like Yarra Valley, and it's very high budget, a lot of weddings, and you kind of see those installations with a lot of them as well.
Yeah.
Is it just you aligning with certain venues is super important for your work, or?
Yeah, yes and no. We love our venues, and honestly, it's a relationship thing.
Yeah.
It's a relationship thing for them, knowing that we're going to come in, they're knowing our staff, they know that we're going to be respectful to their space. That's probably a big thing. Like if it was me as a venue and I've got like someone coming in and throwing water buckets and shit around and not being respectful, like this is why we have, it's not a friendship cliquey thing in the industry. We have preferred supplier lists and we have preferred vendor lists because we know we can trust those people.
Yeah.
So definitely our venue relationships are probably one of the things that we hold highest.
Yep.
But also too, like there's so many amazing private properties out there that we can get a little bit more creative.
Yeah.
That it's just about balancing.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like, what's something that you maybe if it's not even something that you've told any brides, or maybe it's something that you've personally figured out through just years of experience. Like, what's something that you can give to brides, like some advice, some tips, some tricks, anything like that? Like, what's your kind of hidden nugget?
Honestly, like I feel like this is your day. And I think that particularly when it comes to guest lists and family things and, you know, what you do or don't want to spend on flowers or whatever it might be, everything is so unique. I try and avoid, and any Facebook group operators are going to kill me for this. I try and generally say to stay out of some of those Facebook groups because I do find like if I see one more post from someone that's like, oh, I just got quoted like 102 cents for my bridal bouquet. Like, what's everybody else paying?
What do you think?
What do you think? Well, firstly, they don't know you.
Yeah.
You could have 25 Phalaenopsis orchids in your bridal bouquet and they got shit from Kmart and put it into a bouquet. Like, it's trying to not look for other people's opinions on what your day is, whether it's guest list, doesn't matter what it is. Like you do what you want, you spend what's your budget. Everybody's budget is different.
Yep.
You know, stop going to other people for advice. You make the decisions, you find the things that you like, you pay, you know, you budget for what you can afford. And it's sort of like, it's like a car, right? Like I had actually someone say the other day, they're like, oh, you know, I really wanted you for my wedding, but you're just so expensive. And I was like,
it's more like value. It's just like you didn't value what I was going to bring to your day.
120%. Like, you know, I like handbags, right? Like I will bust my ass off to pay for a Chanel, whereas someone else is happy with a $2 handbag from Kmart. Like neither option is right or wrong. It's just that's what you prioritize. That's what your budget is.
Yep.
Like, you know, everybody's so different. So yeah, not going to other people for what you should do.
Yeah.
Any little trends or anything you see happening?
Colour.
Yeah. Okay, colour's back.
Colour's back for
Colour's
sure.
back, and I'm so here for it. I felt like it got to the point in the flower studio where we were like, oh, white and blush, which is so beautiful. So beautiful. It's great. But definitely we love seeing like also too, like from a floral point of view, we saw these massive big trends of high density florals. So like all big flip flex roses, no greenery anywhere, and it's expensive and it takes a lot of time as florists. So now that we're starting to see this more like garden trend vibe come in, we're not having to like flex our roses, which from a floral point of view is great because the more you touch flowers, the more damage you're causing to them. So not having to actually go through and spend hours flexing everything means that the product that we're supplying is better quality on the day, which is really great. And I love, like, that is typical Ivy and Bleu, is this beautiful romantic sort of garden style blooms. And also it's more cost effective for the client too. So we can make a bigger impact with that. So yeah, starting to see more color coming through and starting to see more sort of garden style and natural sort of flowers is really lovely. I'm excited. We have this wedding season, we have just been like, again, like we're just getting the best clients and the best briefs. That the last 3 months, like June, July was quite quiet, probably for everybody. scared the shit out of me. But the last 3 months, like every single wedding is a banger. Like we're printing out at the start of the week, we print out like all of our jobs for the week so we can all have a look through it. And we just sit there getting so excited because we just have had so many amazing briefs. So I'm excited to see that continue into next year.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, we've done an hour in a
Holy
blink of an eye.
shit.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Tell me to stop talking.
No, that's awesome. As far as where people can find you, and do you want to go for that?
Instagram's my jam.
Yeah.
So we're at Ivy Bleu events on Instagram, or our website is www.ivyandbleu, BLEU, like the French spelling of blur.
Yeah.
The amount of times I've had to say that. .com.au, or slide into our DMs. We love to have a chat.
I'll ask quickly, anything behind the name? Just like, is there...
Yeah, but it's real deep.
Oh, okay. We don't have another hour
Probably
to go into
not
that.
what
Okay.
you want to go at the end of it. But no, and honestly, I just love the color blue and I wanted to be fancy. So
Perfect.
It was something about a stripper or something that wasn't it?
it was you.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was that night
the
with
topless
you
waiter,
with the bottle of tequila.
Why
That's
did
how
I
it
bring this
came
up?
about.
Stay tuned for part 2.
Stay tuned for video footage.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks so much,
Thank
Mandi.
you so much
Thanks
for
so
having me,
much, mate.
guys. It was great.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for tuning in to the Wedco podcast. We're dropping a fresh episode every week featuring industry professionals dishing out the wedding wisdom you need to turn those dreams into reality. Make sure you are following us on social media, you have those notifications turned on so we can help plan your wedding day. Your dream wedding day just got a whole lot easier. Thanks for listening.